there are people who still don't really know the right difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. So let's make the divide. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Yes, so here the caption says when. There are 10 reasons when you have to actually start looking, or you would want to see a mental health professional, which is a psychologist. Okay, so if there is any problem that you're going through and you don't really know what is exactly happening, there are many issues that need to be addressed in a certain way in a therapy, right? So for that you will have to definitely see a psychologist. And what are these issues? What, it can be a simple issue, it could be a complex issue. So there are therapies for everyone. And to mention a few, I would start with the very first one. If your ability to function normally is impaired, can somebody tell me what exactly do you think I mean by function normally? Anybody? Make it interactive, guys.
And sometimes I think we tend to overthink, and I don't know, but I believe that it depends upon person to person of how they react normally, because it happens like sometimes people react in certain way and we think, okay, that's not normal, and we judge them. So again, it depends. And I think when we have a peace of mind and we think about certain things rationally, and again, as I said, we do not overthink about them, or we do not like talking in terms of emotions, we do not react to it like very badly, I guess. That's when we have you know a correct mindset, I think.
Perfect. What you said is totally right. That is what I was going to say. Sometimes what happens is psychological or emotional issues, they can get in way of your thinking in your regular activities. It could be because of yourself or because of an impact that you have from the society, right? And by that, like if you are doing a normal function, it means that you would be able to just ignore it. You don't really put in a lot of thought about it. But there can be times when that impairs your normal functioning, right? Wherein you might find it difficult in your maybe in your work, in your studies, in your relationships. You could have conflicts with your friends, or you might even find it hard to maintain the relationships with the very close ones. Even with your family, you might not really have those ties anymore. I mean, you can't break off your ties with your family, but then you might not really share that or have that really good bond that you had earlier. That means that it is kind of impairing your normal functionality, right? And when you understand that, when you realize that, it is time to take a little help, because if that little thing is addressed, the change is definitely possible, and you would not really have to live a life that way anymore, right? So thank you for helping me with this answer. Now, the second reason why you have to see a psychologist or a therapist would be when you go through a trauma and you have to get over it. So, can anybody help me understand what could this trauma be like?
The
What really?
trauma of going through something, or
Yeah, yeah.
of course, trauma means not able to come out of something which made us hurt deeply, and we are having a very deep connection with someone or something which has caused us to feel that amount of pain. And I guess when we are overly shocked and a lot of anxiety and tension, stress occurs at all once, is trauma, maybe.
Thank you for actually sharing this answer. You've actually helped me with not just the second reason, but also with the third, because here I'd like to differentiate it. Okay. So the thing that you said, that somebody has kind like when they hurt you or when it is emotionally distressing you, that is a different thing. Trauma is when you are very close to somebody or maybe something very tragic happens in them. Okay. And with this tragic happening, it can have an impact on person's life in a very drastic way, right? It can not just shake their lives, but it can totally shake them emotionally, right? So that is one thing. It is difficult for somebody to actually put themselves together unless they are great. I would say not even a psychologist who's going through a trauma can put themselves like in the right shape immediately after going through it. Right? It takes some time. So then there is a trauma. It could be the loss of a person, a pet. It could be something very big happening. Maybe it is the business collapsing. It could be anything of that sort, right? And sometimes for some students, like they try to give an exam because getting through that exam means the entire life to them, and maybe they were not able to do it. Sometimes they do a project and maybe that does not get approved, or that's not even possible to happen. That leads them to a traumatic situation, right? So anything that lasts on you with a total shift in the lifestyle, that is trauma in very normal layman terms. Okay, so when something like that comes up, make sure you're taking professional help, guys. Okay, because it is not very easy to get over it. When it is emotional distress, yeah, by doing a few things maybe you can, but when it is trauma, I would really request you to go to a psychologist. All right, it can be managed and processed in a very safe way by them. Okay, and now the third thing that you helped me understand was when you are experiencing emotional distress. So examples of this might be significant mood swings that you feel like are distressing for you. It might be because of emotions that feel overwhelming, or your life can't cope with it. You feel that a person was everything, maybe something was everything to you, and suddenly that stops. Or maybe at this age, let me be very honest with you, maybe you like somebody and that person turns out to be someone else, all right? Or maybe you are, it's all going good, but then there is no proper mental hygiene or thought hygiene being maintained between you both because of multiple reasons, right? Their way of thinking, their wavelength might not match to yours. That kind of eats you alive because you try to start thinking whether you have gotten into the right stage or not. Maybe you have that liking for that person, but then you're not able to cope with them because of this little thing that they have. And if you actually look at it properly, that is not a little thing that is going to impact your life forever. Right. So there could be difficult situations like this. Or forget the relationship past. You all are students, right? So you might be with some students around you who keep bullying you, who keep pestering you, who keep talking things that really hurt you. It emotionally distresses you, right? But then when you when it is really hampering you in a very difficult way, in a very bad way, I'd say do not put in your more efforts to kind of deal with it by yourself. It will burn you from within. It will only cause you to eat you alive. Don't do that. Don't struggle with it yourself. Regardless of what the emotion is, if you feel like you need the support, managing it, therapy. Therapy would be the excellent solution for it. And you would also learn new strategies of helping yourself, right? So that is when you would really need a therapist. My next point, the fourth point is there is Google. There is Google everywhere. There are people everywhere. Most people, what they do is they try to see a therapist in their friends. And their friends, they might have learned some therapy through another psychologist somewhere. They try to give that strategy to this person. Okay. And no matter how much they try, it doesn't help them. So one needs to understand that a therapy is suggested to an individual by a therapist after examining them thoroughly, right? One strategy might not work on the other. So if you are working on strategies or you're not able to cope with a particular way of helping yourself, please visit a psychologist. Sometimes, when you struggle with difficulties, when you do not know how to make yourself better, it is the time that you really need to take help. Because you know what will happen? That therapy is not for you, right? Or somebody suggesting you something is not for you. You don't even know what thoughts they have when they're suggesting something to you because you're already in a very gullible state. So if it has negative consequences on you and your health, your happiness will be destroyed forever, right? So it's always better to not let something like that happen. Do not let anything impact your life, your relationship, your finances, your health, or your mental well-being in a bad way. If at all you feel that there is something going a little off track, you have people to help you, right? You have psychologists, you have doctors, right? And you have other NGOs which you can approach, you have set up, right? So try to reach the right people for help. Okay. Now, the fifth thing, this is a very favorite thing, I would say, for most teenagers and also youth: relationships. Anything happens in a relationship, they feel that things have gone out of stores. They feel that it can't happen. Somebody is bad, somebody is shouting today. Yesterday they were good. Until they dated, they were all fine. But once they said, yes, yes, I accept you, you accept me, relationship changes. After marriage, also people change. Or maybe in this age as well, it's in a very young youth stage when you kind of find it very attractive to kind of get into a relationship. But with time, you might get this feeling that this person is not paying attention to me. The person is paying attention to him or her more than me. Many things like that happen. And the worst thing that can happen is you are talking to that person, not me. You're not paying attention on me. Things like that come up, which are very juvenile. Trust me, guys, when you think about it later, much later in your life, you would laugh at situations like this. There are, I'd say, clients who I kind of take care of, right? So young people tell me things that really make me feel like telling them that years down the line, this is something that they would advise the others not to really think about as well. There are people who even hit their heads to the walls, considering why somebody is behaving so badly with them. That is not supposed to happen to you, because the more you kind of get into this kind of a negative aura around you, or you kind of bother yourself with these thoughts, it's definitely going to drown your energies, right? If you really want to solve the issues, communicate with your partner. Okay, get done with it. If you feel that it will happen. Otherwise, it's just get into an understanding and come out of it. Sometimes people, they get into all of these and then they realize that it is good staying single, or they try to understand that it is good to just like focus on selves. Try to do certain things. Do not set up high expectations to the other person if you cannot meet them. Okay, and then go ahead. Why do you think you have bonded so well with your parents until now, or with your siblings? There might be here and there, like, a few fights and a few things, tiffs coming up. But then why are you guys still together? That's because, one, you have no choice. That's your family. You have to be with them. The second is, no matter what happens today, tomorrow you all will be together because you understand each other's wavelengths. But you meet a person suddenly, like maybe an year ago or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you haven't known that person really so well. So there will be tiffs. But how you handle that matters. And trust me, guys, not always Google is your friend to help you with certain things. You have to make sure that you are consulting the right person. Don't really go and sit and look for a relationship therapist. As I said, always leave therapies to the therapist. Okay, try to find the right therapist for yourself and try to get out of it. Because one thing, if you let small things like this, stress, anxieties, depressions like this, take a toll on you, it will unnecessarily lead to traumatic events, because you will not be able to focus on what you really have to, and you might even lose it, right? So always make sure that you get the right help at the right time itself. Okay. And the sixth point is self-development. You want to see a health professional not just for a problem or a disorder. Sometimes it is also to understand yourself a little better, the way you see the world. Because sometimes it happens. I have my clients who are really big businessmen. They try to approach me to just ask me whether their thinking is the right thinking. Because what happens is, once you go up the ladder, or once you get responsibilities, your way of thinking also changes. Not that you do it deliberately, the surroundings make you think so. Okay, it helps. I mean, it kind of changes your relationship with people, with also food. You would not be able to really pay attention to food, or maybe you have so much money that you would go and eat junk more than nutrition. There are multiple things that happen. This is a very lame example that I gave you, but there are multiple things that happen. So at times like that, when you feel that you are not being yourself, it's better to take help of understanding from a professional again, to know what you think you're changing into, and whether you want to be there or not, whether you have to come back to the real self that you are. And to do that, only a therapist can help you, right? And there is nothing wrong in actually enjoying your success, but it is definitely wrong if you are doing it at a level that you cannot handle later. Okay. Now, the seventh thing that I would like to tell you is developing new coping strategies. Okay, even this particular thing that I spoke about, sometimes what they do is they talk to friends. Trust me, guys, your friends are not your therapists. Your friends can never be your psychologist. As I told earlier, different therapies, different suggestions are for different people. It is independent of thought. It is exclusively for a person for a particular mind. It cannot be the same for the others. So make sure that you are seeing the right person at the right time. Okay. And for like, let's say something happens in your life. This is the eighth point that I'm talking to you. If you are getting into a new normal, okay, like for example, you all sit up, everybody, or from VIT, how many of you have even seen your college? The question that I wanted to ask you.
Seen our college physically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went, ma'am.
You went. Did you get the feel of it? Because see, when you were in school, or when you were in maybe intermediate as well, you might have thought, you might have had some virtual imaginations for yourself that when you go to college, this is how it would be like for you and all. Yeah, did you?
Yeah, ma'am, I did.
Yeah. And what happened with the whole pandemic thing?
Ma'am, honestly to say, I forgot how was it like to go to college, how was it like to go to school. When I visited my degree college a few weeks back, I went and it was like, this is a whole new feeling, new, naya lag raha tha.
Now you feel new, naya. But when it started, how do you think was it? Like, were you able to immediately adjust with the change when they said you have to just stay at
No,
home?
ma'am.
All
Of
right.
course, to adjust in an environment, we need a lot of time. Adjust with people, different mindsets, different thoughts, different places, area, kind of people. Ma'am?
Even with adjusting with your family, because what happens is, since your childhood, I don't think anybody must have spent so much time only with the family. The amount of time that you have spent in this past 1.5 years, did you ever spend so much time with your own family?
No, ma'am.
Right? So this adjustment to change is not easy. But if you were able to do it, kudos to you. To be very honest, it is not a natural phenomenon. If you were able to actually adjust there, and you are actually striving hard to be there, and you are happy with it, it is a great thing, the best way you could, instead of actually trying to go out, trying to find out what to do, what help can you take, how can I even live with these people, how can I even think about adjusting with a new norm. If you never had those thoughts, or even if you had those thoughts and you were able to overcome them, it's very good, because in a way you have developed yourself in a very great manner. You have built your self confidence. This is something for everybody, each of you here, because you have known how to nurture a relationship starting from your home itself. Because from school, maybe the longest you stayed with your family would be during the summer vacation, or maybe any other vacation, but other than that, not really. But now you have nurtured relationships, you've kind of nurtured yourself, you know how it is, or you know to read yourself better, right? You've kind of understood what positivity means, because there might have been times when you were like going crazy about sitting at home, but then you learned positivity, right? And you have also kind of might have thought about certain relationships of your past. Not talking about relationship, I'm talking about your bonds with your friends and all. So maybe you thought about them, or maybe you had this sort of an introspect where you felt that maybe those things could have been mended well to repair the current form, right? Maybe some of you even worked on it, some of you might have just left it, but then that sort of a thinking, if you've got it, then you have done a great job. You have built your self confidence, you have managed your anxieties, everything perfectly well. But if you are not able to, it's okay. Even now, you stand a chance to talk to somebody, right? So even at times like this, for some of them, it is horrible. If at all there is somebody who is going through torture, trauma, if there is somebody amongst you guys also, or somebody you know who is going through a very tough phase in life while being at home, you can suggest them to talk to a professional, a psychologist who can support them better, right? And ninth point that I would like to talk about, why you have to see a psychologist, is when your quality of life seems to be decreasing. This is not something that is for you guys, but yes, where I can associate it to the students is when there is maybe marks. Okay, marks could be something, maybe a project which you felt that it would go up high, but it did not. Maybe you wanted to score really good, great in some subject, but you could not. Or maybe you did exceptionally well in one semester, in the other you could not. So this kind of feeling, you will not have it. Society will kind of make you feel that way. Your people will start making you feel that way, because they are kind of influenced by the society to make you feel the shame, the embarrassment about the situation and all. So when you go across that, first thing that I would do is I would ask you to ignore it. Okay, it's your life. What you want to do with it is definitely yours. Yes, if somebody who's kind of guiding you is your well-wisher, try to listen to them. But do not let what they tell you, do not let the embarrassments that they put into your mind affect you badly. Okay? People are there everywhere. The work that they have is to make somebody feel inferior for themselves to feel superior, right? So when that happens also, don't listen to them. But if you feel that something is affecting you very badly, seek help, because that is worth addressing right now, so that you don't carry it forward with you as a baggage throughout your life. It will really be very bad for you. Okay. And the last reason why you have to see a psychologist is because you have all the rights to. You are human, you have a mind. Why don't you see a person who is good at reading your mind or helping you with understanding your emotions? You have all the rights to know yourself. Would you not go and see a doctor if you have fever? Because you want to know why you got the fever and how you can get rid of the fever. And if you have some negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative psychological things that are kind of itching you, see a specialist, right? So that is one of the last reasons or the best reasons for you to talk to a psychologist at least once in life, to feel good about yourself. Okay. And you have any questions on this, guys? Anybody? Or can I just go forward?
Ma'am, can I ask?
Sure.
Ma'am, what if we really don't know what is right and what is wrong? Like, in case our parents are like, do this, do that, but we really don't know that is it right for us or is it wrong for us, or do we have to listen to ourselves? Do we have to listen to them? We are in a confusion that what should we do in such a situation, and we are confused about how should we go about which is right, which is wrong.
Covering that also in today's session, which is called self-introspection. Okay, so I'll try to help you there with certain things. You always have somebody to take help from, which is like us, right? And you also have career counselors in case you have any issues with your career, right? So that is also something that can be taken care of. I'll actually come to self-introspection, wherein you will get a proper answer to that. And if not, then I have one more solution for you. Okay.
Ma'am, would you mind asking me something?
Yeah.
Ma'am, see, generally in India, not I wouldn't say in India, but most of the families, uh, they don't prefer seeing a psychologist because for them their reputation and their self-esteem matters more than the child. But so usme na they will tell that why do you need to see a psychologist? Are you mad? See, that's the first thing when they tell psychologist. We know what is psychologist, and when we try to explain them, they won't give the same amount of importance which they give to the cardiologist or some oncologist or some xyz specified doctor like a neurologist or something. Abhi psychologist bolungi na, to they'll be like, ye kya psychologist, kya karne ke liye, tum pagal ho, are you mad, are you going crazy? So they'll they will, they can't think out of the box, like psychologist can also be a good thing like cardiology and consulting a doctor. So what do you suggest to bring a kind of mindset in our parents that they won't think that psychology में जाना है मतलब पागल लोग ही जाएंगे, साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास कंसल्ट करना है तो पागल लोग ही जाएंगे. So I just want to change that mindset in people. What would you tell about that, ma'am?
Just change the slide. That is what the topic is. Stereotypes. I'll talk about that.